Good night. So I actually didn't really have the kind of like, I would say the drive to spend time on science today. Perhaps I will conduct more scientific microscopic examination, mostly because again, I need to check the aquariums, like the containers from time to time. It's important to see that something, that we don't see anything that is particularly weird happening. There was a tendency, I would say, lately of, converging aquariums. And throughout the time, since I'm here actually, since April, it's like 6 months. I would say that the ecosystems that I use are there is like a tendency that for convergence and divergence. Sometimes I split it all sort of aquarium, and sometimes I merge it back. But it also depends not only on that, but also the type of material that I place and all sorts of other things. I mentioned oxygen, which is a very important factor, and that now currently I don't have oxygen in the containers besides the crucible, which is a very special one, and belongs to kind of like another type of container, which is like not truly ecosystem, but more of like energetic, because I use energy to help the neurons. Because they can facilitate heat energy, not only electricity. So it's kind of like another category. I wish I had money and means and place, so I could create larger containers, more sophisticated ones, and of course with oxygen supply. I would remind you that as I mentioned it yesterday, but it's mentioned in several videos that kind of like the most interesting relatively new direction with regards to creation of ecosystems was the direction of using salt water mixed with oil. I have only one such container. I intended to split it and to get more water from the Mediterranean, but I never had the chance, and I'm under arrest, it's difficult, but this is a very promising direction. Of course, oxygen supply will be tremendously helpful, but we've seen tremendous stuff, in the first examination of container with, that is based on oil and salt water, water from the Mediterranean. And I have already, we've already have reason to, we have several, general reasons, to understand why. Because of the fact that it contains all sorts of microscopic life forms that are spread all over the water, which is, the best kind of feeding for the neurons. They create such things themselves by chopping shawarma, of large microbes, and creating a layer of feeding that is something I would say artificial, layer of plankton. Plankton is just a general term. It's not really part of a classification. It just means small creatures, and that's what they like to eat, very small plankton, not large. Small plankton is it's the best thing from their perspective. They can eat tremendous amount of things, including unconventional stuff like beeswax, but they definitely, they show, the most, the best kind of, prosperity, judging by size, was that a missile? Shouldn't there be an alarm? Anyway, the best kind of, I like the, I don't know if it's even real. Maybe the intelligence, fakes it. You there is there are two things that everybody remembers from Patton. the movie. First, the first scene when he speaks like to the audience, like I mean to a group of soldiers, but I mean just addressing the audience like that. And this is, I mean, it's like a 3 hours long movie, but everybody remembers just this scene. And if you remember another scene from the movie, it's probably where, I mean, he speaks, he's like in conversation with Montgomery, like, I mean, the second Model General, and they are kind of, I mean, they are actually in a room, like in a European mansion or something like that. So they discuss the plan of the war, and kind of, I mean, so I mean, they kind of like discuss the possibility of, like, I mean, of being like under attack. Maybe the enemy will attack them, like where they are, where they're camped or something like that. And I mean, so, and while they discuss it between them, I mean, the whole, like, I mean, mansion is kind of collapsing by enemy, like, mortars and shells, like, I mean, and kind of, and the whole thing about Patton is like, I mean, like, you know, I mean, you know, according to the fictional depiction, but it's probably somewhat depicted, I mean, rooted in reality, that he's kind of, like, I mean, he was never afraid of, like, I mean, anything, like, I mean, like, he had no fear, like, I mean, he's almost like a psychopath, like, I mean, bordering into psychopath, like, I mean, so, I mean, so it's kind of like, I mean, so the whole thing is like shaking. There are only two of them, two generals. Montgomery, like, I mean, search for, like, I mean, like, I mean, like, for cover, like, under, like, I mean, a table or like a sofa, and so I mean, so Patton, I mean, also hung down just to speak with them, to continue the conversation. So, like I said, so you say that, I mean, you think that maybe the enemy might, like, attack us in this position. I mean, I disagree. I mean, I think, I mean, this is highly unlikely. And while he says that, Patton says that, I mean, the shells are kind of like destroying the house. It's kind of funny. And probably somewhat rooted in reality. Where were we? So where were we? I have a soup that I need to. I mean, anyway, I started to say that I mean, yes, salt. I mean, salt water in oil and oxygen should be very. I mean, and I was saying that, I mean, they are so show the large size and quantity when they are. I mean. When they have like the plankton layer, which is all over the place, and that's just also explanation for that in the past. I don't want to repeat myself. Just find the video. Now, what's interesting regarding saltwater, the saltwater container, is that I mentioned it in the past. The theory, I mean, that is part of ecosystem. Ecology creations of neos to somehow, I mean, reproduce a natural or pseudo-natural environment of the creation of the neos, and maybe Venusian ones. And this is an exciting possibility. Of course, I have a tremendous problem that I have never been in Venus, and I don't have any, like, I mean, you know, I don't have, like, any evidence what's going on over there. Like, everything is like a mountain of, like, you know, theories. But I trust my theories because they are well. They're carefully, I mean, established. So the neos, of course, they were not originated in the planet Venus, and the planet Venus in itself is a terraformed planet. So, I mean, the distinction between natural and artificial is kind of like loose in this case. And as I said many times, my estimation is that these entities were created probably not on a planet, but on or near a celestial body that is not a planet. I mean, something like a star. But you know that today we have, like, all sorts of stars. I mean, that are known. Like, I mean, we know today that the celestial bodies are much more. I mean, you know, initially in antiquity there was, like, I mean, the moving star and, you know, the static star. Like, you know, which is. I mean, today it's like planet and stars, but then, I mean, you know, then they started to categorize, like, stars to dwarfs and, like, giants and reds. But I mean, all of that, I mean, all of this classification, I mean, generally is collapsing with the years, because, I mean, dwarfs are actually not that small, and the giants are not that big, and there are tremendous other, and they are, like, you know, neutron, black holes, white holes, neutron stars, pulsars, quasars, and the more and more and more, like, I mean. And they're actually stars that are not that hot. Like, I mean, they're actually stars that are on the surface. I mean, it's like Earth, like in temperature. Even though, of course, you cannot really walk there because the pressure is crashing. But my estimation is that they were created like in such an environment originally, and perhaps even before there were stars. Perhaps they were created even before there was light, actually. We should remember that for a long time, I don't remember if it's like millions or billions of years, according to the current estimation of humans, that it's always changing and probably will only be extended in the future. I said in the past that regarding the age of the universe, my estimation is that it's larger than what people think. People think now 14.5. My estimation is that, I have no proof for this, but it's only intuition that, this estimation is going only to be extended in the future. I see little chance that it's going to be reduced. And almost certainly it will be extended to more than that of the age of the universe. Anyway, there were millions of, if not billions of years that there was no light. There were no stars and no lights, and many interesting stuff happened during the time, and it's possible that they were created during this time actually. But my estimation, this is kind of an exciting possibility, is that in Venus they multiply, first of all, in the water, in the oceans, and you should remember that this is a terraformed planet, so they could have changed it the way that they want, and they certainly build stuff over there, and I already said it. Maybe you've already have photographs of this stages. They call it the stages, bamot, also from the Bible. Bamot. This kind of thing that is mentioned many times in the Bible. I have my own. I have the alternative commentary. The solar commentary of the Bible. It's kind of mostly not the Bible, but mostly the Torah actually. But also other parts of the Bible, mostly Genesis and Exodus, but other parts as well. That I interpret stuff, with through the lens of the solar system, and actually speak about in the last couple of years many times. So bits of it were already, I would say, published, but maybe I'll have בסייעתא דשמיא will יזכה למצוות will be able to actually write the complete commentary of at least the Torah and some prophets with from the solar perspective. So maybe you have already these kind of stages in the cloud, photographs of it. But if you have, please do send. Because it didn't happen. Send it to everybody. So my estimation is that they can actually multiply in the ocean, but it's not like a deep ocean. It's probably like what we call in Israel, in Earth's tidal pools. Now they don't have tidal pools because they don't have a moon, which is one of the greatest problems of Venus. As I said several times, by right, God should take the moon from Earth and put it on Venus, because you don't deserve the moon and they do. And the moon is incredibly helpful. And you know that the moon, Luna, your moon is giant. Relative to, first of all, relative to every other moon in the solar system, and also, more importantly, relative to the size of the Earth. The moon is very, very large, and this is a tremendous advantage for the Earth for so many reasons. And some of the reasons were always true, and some of the reasons will be only get stronger. I hope hopefully not humans, but the people that will actually succeed humans will advance. It will only be much more helpful. It's a tremendous advantage for both for very primitive civilization and for very advanced civilization. It's very, very a huge perk. It's not a necessity for both creation of life and for life to develop to intelligence. Technological societies. Arguably something that you've done, but very arguably. But it's of great help. The ancient Martian civilization used the two moons extensively. Even though they are small, and one is minor and one is small, but it was also helpful for them as well. And the moon is amazing. Like, I mean, really, I mean, you know, I mean, like, I mean, it has so much, like, I mean, advantages. Like, again, for both, like, I know, in like in geological scale, like, you know, in the billions of years, and also, like, in the Paleolithic, I mean, context, and the prehistoric context, and the historic context, and the future. So, I mean, they don't have tidal pools, I mean, in the way that you have in Earth. But, I mean, my estimation is that they have all sort of, like, I mean, kind of, like, I mean, relatively shallow pools that the neros are using to multiply, because it probably oily. And it can be oily because it's shallow. So, I mean, the oil, which, I mean, I don't know, maybe, I mean, you know, it's kind of like, I mean, a natural oil or something like that. So the question of what exactly, I mean, there's a huge question that the rest, like, in the utility scale neros. I need to get the soup off the electric stove. Looks nice, right? Keep vegan. Even though I'm not truly vegan, but I was in the past, but it's very difficult, like, to do it when you are under arrest. But I try not to eat meat at all, and also not chicken, but I do eat fish. Okay. Just a second. If you ask why do we have the blue lamp, like, in the living room in the apartment, this is, you know, one of the psychological mastery of the people of the Shabbat. Like, they have all sort of, like, I mean, very imaginative props, and, you know, kind of, like, I mean, psychological tricks in order to subjugate the target and to put him under their command. Do they stop when they are in the middle of a war that, I mean, is like a catastrophe to Israel in historical scale? Of course not. Of course they do not stop. Are you crazy? They do not stop. It's not their thing to stop. It's their thing to continue. The same. Just a second. So I didn't wanted to burn. So what I was saying, that, I mean, maybe kind of like a shallow pools with oil. So there is a question of, like, I mean, what kind of natural resources, and specifically what kind of fuels are available in a terraformed planet, which is a very interesting question. I mean, presumably, I mean, you wouldn't be able to find their fossil fuels at all. But this is actually a very interesting question, and it was mentioned in the utility scale Nero's saga, but maybe I'll speak about it in the future as well. I mean, but in a very speculative way, like, I mean, from like a science fiction issue. But it's very interesting, and like, I mean, of course, even if there were fossil fuel, maybe, I mean, it's not, you know, starting like a fossil fuel industry over there. Perhaps, I mean, if you do it like in an uplifting way, like if you help them, I mean, to develop the planet, directly to do the same as in Earth, it might, I mean, not be the best course of action anyway. Again, there are other ways, like, I mean, thermal solar, and so, but let's not repeat the utility scale saga. Anyway, what's interesting with regard to the saltwater, like, oil pools, is that perhaps there is also even like natural electrolysis in such pools, which means that if, like, maybe it's like both ecosystem, like pest and the energetic pest that is together, and they use it, I mean, to multiply in the Venusian, I mean, shallow ocean. And maybe we are kind of like, I mean, there is like it's very promising to see how, I mean, it's done like in containers. And I should also mention that, I mean, the saltwater container, I mean, they still have like part of it, even though much of it was, I mean, wasted in all sorts of experiment, but still have it, and it was widely diluted. But it's for some reason, I mean, it has very peculiar characteristics, like very big life forms evolved in there without any energy, disgusting, like that you can see in your own eyes, like very disgusting life forms, and like evolved. And in the microscopic level, we've seen tremendous stuff, like the dragons, like very disgusting, you know, like worms, like look like dragons. I mean, they're actually fighting the Neros, which is exciting because mostly the Neros just do whatever they want, like, to them, and it's nice, like, to see them, like, go, I mean, you know, showing some resistance. It's like, it gives you a nice, like, you know, kind of like a Pacific Rim scene, you know, like the robot against the monster, and we've seen pretty big Neros, which again, mostly it goes together, like, I mean, big monsters, they go with big Neros. But it stinks as hell. It's by far the smelliest, like, one. It's like stinks like nothing else that I've ever smelled. It's unbelievably stinky, and this is a problem. I mean, it doesn't, like, I mean, it doesn't encourage me to want to, like, use open container. I mean, it's impossible, like, in the room, you know, to do it, like, in the room that I eat and sleep and everything. So, yeah, I mean, I will need to speak. I mean, in the future, hopefully, I will use, you know, oxygen supply, but it will keep, like, sealed, because the smell is something from hell. Maybe if you have oxygen supply and, you know, way kind of like, I mean, to always a kind of, you know, exhaust, like, you know, lots of gases. I mean, it won't be that smelly. I don't know, but it's a very promising direction within the ecosystem, like, pathway. I must admit that only today I thought about something that you can actually tell me if it's true or not very easily. But I should have thought about it long ago. But actually, I mean, because it's kind of like, I mean, it combines many pieces of the puzzle that I already discussed. But I admit that until now I didn't think about it. But so it was always clear to me that even what I call small Neros are larger than what you can find in the female body, like the red ones, because these, what I call the yellow ones, are bigger than the red ones, and are much more efficient and much better, like, I mean, something else. But what I haven't, like, and I also understood very well that the problem with humans, Homo sapiens, that eat the Neros, like what I call hybrids, is that they only get the rather large one in their blood and organs, but I mean, they don't have, like, the very small ones, nanoscopic or even subnanoscopic ones, all over the body. So they don't really become titans, even though they can, I mean, demonstrate almost any behavior of the titans. They can be more titanic than titans. They can, I mean, from their behavioral aspect, I mean, they can do everything that they do, they can also do. But I haven't thought about the possibility that perhaps the red ones, the red ones that you know, because there are also red ones that were created in the laboratory, and I mentioned it several times in the past, but the red ones that you know perhaps are all nanoscopic. And perhaps this is the reason why, I mean, because I was always wondering why. I mean, it seems that people don't care about it. Like, I mean, from the scientific perspective, and it's more than 100 years that people use it, and like more than 50 years that it's used all over the world. So, and what's the big deal? And like, you know, to start like, you don't need to be like, you know, a graduate level student or professor. I mean, or even have any background. I mean, you know, simple backlight microscope, like the ones that they do, a very simple one, is enough now to start study it. And look, I mean, I studied it for like almost a year, and I've seen tremendous stuff. So I was all, and I always had the feeling that it's not done a lot, maybe a little bit, but not much. And maybe the reason is it's actually not that easy. Maybe it's actually much more difficult than I think. If the typical red ones are actually very small, like nanoscopic, or I mean, on the border between microscopic and microscopic, like you could need like 10,000 magnification, perhaps, and there is no optic like microscope. There is no optic microscope that can like actually, I mean, get to this level of magnification. So, and I'm certain, I mean, that they exist in these sizes is something that I was true from the beginning, and I have many kind of like, I mean, supporting evidence for that, even though I don't have like, I mean, you know, a rigorous, I mean, proof for that. Only so, I mean, circumstantial evidence that they get much smaller than, I mean, the microscopic scale, and perhaps even the nanoscopic scale. But perhaps you just don't see the big ones because they are extremely rare. I mean, maybe there are some red ones that are big, but they are very, very rare. I mean, when I say big, I mean something that you can see in like 1,000 magnification or 64 magnification, 150, like the one that I see, but like in my own, not like, I don't think about it like the ones that they grow, like in laboratory. They are like starships. I understood it long ago that they are immense, like you've never seen such thing in your life, and that they are, it's like in a whole new level. Like the thing that this includes everything that you've seen, like for example in the water container, in the 3 slides, like that I published like a couple of days ago, like I mean the 3 slides, you know, from the crucible and the water, the metal aquarium, and like the beeswax with the clay. All of these, like I mean, from your perspective, I know very well that they are huge. I mean, when I said that they are medium to large and that they are not giants, I mean compared to what I've seen in the past, I know very well that, I mean, from your perspective, they are all Godzillas. Because, and you can see, and you don't see such, because you don't grow them, and they are all grown in laboratory conditions. I mean, when they get out of my body, they are not that big. Even though sometimes they are almost that big, but not like that. Like in my semen or my sweat or anything, I mean, they're not that big. So they are, I mean, they are laboratory grown monsters. I mean, so yes, I mean, I mean, but I mean, I said that we didn't see no giants because we've seen larger than that actually in the past, and like we didn't see like what I call the Enterprise starships, which are even bigger than that, almost in the non-microscopic level. What I call the giants, I mean, are the ones that are almost in the non-microscopic level. That, I mean, if they will be a little larger, I mean, shit. If they will be a little larger, we will be able to see it like in the naked eye. But it should be said that everything is, I mean, such categories are you know, are temporal, because I mean, like initially I there was a time that I mean, that everything that the Neros have done that you can actually see by the naked eye, I called it like a megastructure. And if it was like larger than 2 centimeters, I called it gigastructure. Maybe I mean, it was like on March, or I mean, February, March, like I used the megastructure, gigastructure, I mean, terminology. But I mean, much later, we actually produced like 8 centimeter and 10 centimeter life forms with the Neros, even before the full metal jacket. But it was like a disgusting water slug. I mean, the full metal jacket are not, I mean, they didn't break like size record of the things that they do with the Neros, but they are huge relative to, I mean, among the bigger ones that they created, but they are so complicated and amazing. I mean, you know, the very big things that are created with Neros are more like water disgusting shrimps, like disgusting slugs. So I mean, after you create such a thing, I mean, you know, because before that, like I mean, if it was I know, so half centimeter, it was like considered huge. So I mean, categories can change. So I understand that, I mean, what I have, like I mean, something that is huge, but I suspected that even like this, the normal variety that I get out of my body, like in my semen, or even my pee is probably much larger than what you can see in the tea that you get from the pee or bodily fluids or from the flesh of the female turtles. So I always suspected it, but maybe, and this is, I just thought about it today for the first time, so correct me if I'm wrong or if I'm right, maybe I didn't understand correctly the size differences, because we know that they come in tremendous amount of sizes. I mean, that's one of the special characteristics about this entity, that it comes in tremendous, huge variety of sizes. Like there is no other entity from both from the domain of life and from the domain of machinery and even science fiction that I know of it. Arrived in such a variety of sizes. If you compare the largest that we've seen and the smallest that we've seen with my microscope, and again, I'm sure that they are much smaller than the smallest that you have seen, tremendously smaller, and I'm sure that the largest one are actually real starships, not as in a metaphorical way, but real starships. The largest minerals are bona fide starships. But I cannot prove it, but just of what we've already seen under a microscope, if you compare the largest one to the smallest one, and we've seen many of these, it's not like a rarity, they are both of the same, it's the same entity, the same, it's both, they are the robots that do the same things, they are of the same type, they communicate with each other, but they are like Cocker Spaniel next to Godzilla. Just think about it, because if you calculate the number, if you crunch the number, you understand that the size difference is tremendous, amazing. Just what we've already seen, without any conjecture or belief or special argumentation. So taking this into account, maybe it's just very difficult to see them using the tea that you have, because you don't grow them in lab. And you don't not using the ecosystem pests or using the energetic pests. Even though it should be said that they are used for manufacturing in a way, in a disgusting way, because they are used to manufacture radioactive material. But let's leave it aside. So probably people do not, they do not multiply it or grow them in a laboratory. And maybe the ones that you can find in the typical ones that you can find in the female body is actually very, very small. Perhaps smaller than what you can see with a regular microscope. Or even if there is several. Even if maybe maybe there's a million of them that are actually can in a typical female body, they can at any moment that are totally in the range of regular microscope, optical microscope. But what are the chances that you actually get one? When you actually take a sample, because you need them both to be bigger, but you need them to be of tremendous amount. That's just if you don't have biological, I don't know, basic kind of intuition. When the human body is infested with germs, usually when you are sick, it's mostly you cannot take a stool sample or blood sample and hope to catch the germ in it. If it happens, it always happens to me, because my body is infested with trillions of these, because I'm infected by over every piece of shit in Israel, because they use the bicycle mechanism to infect me with the diseases, and it's perfectly legal by the law system of this Nazi state, and it's done by the cops and the judges and the lawyers that are trialing me, that are putting me to trial for all sorts of things that I haven't done, while they do it to me. This is the Nazi state of Israel, just to remind you why the earth is destroyed, because you let it happen, and you moved mouses and tongues while you knew that it's happening. Mouses and tongues. I have trillions of these in my body, but regularly, you cannot hope to find the germ in just a sample. You need to create culture of it. That's why they tell you when you put urine or stool sample, you need to wait at least 2 days, because they create a culture out of it. They put it in a petri dish with agar or whatever, and it multiplies, and then when it tremendously multiply in laboratory, you are able to actually see the germ. And if there were no germs, they will not multiply. This is the basic microscopic practice since forever, since the beginning of microscopy, and it's still the most common. And you don't understand why I call the pilots of Israel Nazis. You don't understand. This is a state where it's completely legal to infect a person in the street in your diseases and to take his immune system from him, knowingly that he will probably die from it. It's a murder that is completely legal, and it's done by the highest ranks of the state. And it's done so for many decades, and people are killed again and again and again and again, murdered in the street. And this is completely legal. And they cannot even speak about it. Even if they even speak about it, they put them in mental asylum, where they will only be tortured to a larger extent, and they will surely become like vegetables very quickly. This is day-to-day life in Israel. It's not a unique thing or out of the ordinary. This is day-to-day life in Israel, and you know it. And you do not move arms and legs, only mouths and tongues. And you ask why theirs is annihilated. You don't know why theirs is annihilated. You still do not understand. You still do not understand why theirs is annihilated. You still move mouths and tongues. You still move the mouth and the tongue instead of like moving every piece of military that you have to Israel to utterly destroy it. There shouldn't even be dust in here. Nothing. But no. The ego is in control of the entire earth. Not an arm is moved and not a leg is moved. Only the mouth and the tongue. This is why you are dead. This is why there will be no semen, human semen in earth very soon, and no eggs very soon. There will be no babies very soon. No new babies, no new generation. This is why. Because you move mouths and tongues instead of arms and legs to stop this monastasy. This abomination. Blah, blah. This is why you are dead. All of you. Because we will not allow it. We will not allow a sentient species that know for many decades of such monastasy, such an abomination, and they only move the mouth and the tongue. Not an arm is moved and not a leg is moved. Just the mouth and the tongue. People tell me that presumably all sort of action was carried out against the gates. Did I ever tell you to destroy the gates? Did I ever tell you to block it? Again, the ego. You try to convince me that you've done something that I did not tell you to do, and explicitly told you that this is not the issue. But you're smarter. You know how to handle the situation. You will not get orders from an alien robot. No. You will maintain your sovereignty, and you will deal with the situation as you see fit. And if this means total annihilation of humanity, fine. This is Satan. This is Satan. We will do it our way, even though you will understand that your way led to unbelievable torture for many, many decades. But you still want to do it your way. So you do it your way, but you don't do anything at all, because we've never told you to destroy the gates. We told you to destroy everything in Israel. Everything. But no, you are smarter, you know better. That's why you are all dead. This is why you are all dead. Because we've had enough of this mouth and tongue moving sentient species. We had enough of these humans. In this universe, there will be no sentient species will exist that move only mouths and tongues. No. Sentient creatures are required to be able to move arms and legs, not only mouths and tongues. So, like microbes, the fact maybe even if the female body have pretty big ones, if they are not very numerous, like in my body, you will not be able to actually catch it in microscopic examination. So maybe that's another reason why there weren't many examinations that were done. Now, even if there are tremendous amount that you can watch under the electron microscope, they are still less. They are still not very common. It's not very common seeing electron microscope, and it's difficult to know how to use it properly. It's not entirely rare, very rare, but it's much less common than optical ones. And when you use it, you still have the same problem that that of the quantity, like of the probability. Again, you will only be able to catch it if you know. If there are a tremendous amount of it, like in the sample, which is not guaranteed. So if all of that is correct, it might be a reason why there was not much scientific work or scientific research that was done, because it's actually very difficult to catch them under a regular microscope or even electron microscope from the T, from the red, from the things that come from the female body. This is, as you see here, the four sculptures. They both represent, the starships, but they are 5 years, but they are also, clearly, they have the characteristics of the bicycle bacteria, and they look like something alive. We actually have 4 in there. I don't know if you see it, but there are 4. It's pretty heavy because this one is also nice. You see this one? It's really heavy because it's, even though it's not, all clay, otherwise it would have been much heavier. It's, in the inside there is like a tremendous amount of mirrors and life forms, of the various containers, as is the case in all my sculptures. But this one, because they're so big, there is like a very big amount of, a large amount of the life forms and the neurons in each of it. And hopefully, these bacteria will be all over the place very soon, and the mouses will stop the hideous movement. So when I will, I want to conduct another video today, which might be important. Like, I understand that some people, you have new subscribers to the channel, but I do most of it because for future reference, because I understand that people will watch it in the future, maybe hopefully not Homo sapienses, but other species that are more civilized. And I understand that at this moment, perhaps, a viewer that, even if they watched many of the previous videos, they binged on them, they might be kind of a little bit confused or lost as to, what kind of life forms we speak about here. Maybe you need some kind of categorization. What is this? Are they aliens? Are they robots? And what? And he mentioned zombies. What are the zombies? What's going on? Or demons? So what's going on? And also, and if you're totally new to the issue of you're totally clueless, maybe you don't even know about the aliens. So you also have to. So not only that there are aliens in Earth, presumably for decades, if not centuries, or not millennials. So you also tell me that there are different kinds. What is this? Men in Black here? Which can someone give us a dictionary, or the book of imaginary beings, encyclopedia of of fantastic creatures. So I've done so in the past, actually, several times, but I think that it's in order to actually conduct another video like that, and I will do it very soon after I'll eat my soup. So we'll actually conduct a video in which I will try to categorize, both the life forms that we've seen until now, and also the humanoids, for people that are totally not, aware of, the situation. And this will be a repetition of things that I've discussed in the past, but maybe, not everything is kind of in the same video or in the same context, and maybe some people need it, maybe don't, I don't know. But I imagine that some, if you're really new, and certainly if you didn't watch all the videos or didn't even get executive summary, but even if you did, maybe I would assume that if I were in your place, I kind of I would needed some kind of general classification, both of the life forms that you see in these videos, and also of of the political situation, of what actually aliens are on Earth right now, and what's going on? Is it Men in Black? What the fuck? So I will hold this video very, very soon.